All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the moon forecast for the Pisces new moon here in March. I am Kendall Shahan, the Bohemian Tarot Girl, and I have Amy here. Amy, give a shout out to everyone.
Hi, I'm Amy Amonette. I am an intuitive energy coach, and I lead women's moon circles, and I've been doing that for the past couple of years. And it's just such a wonderful kind of extra thing that I was able to incorporate, and I truly love getting together and talking about the moon energy and the energies overall. So,
I love talking about the moon energy. It's my favorite of all the energy that we have coming in. So we have the new moon in Pisces coming up on the 13th of March. And, it's a very dreamy kind of energy. And we were talking about, you know, what that brings for you. Can you tell us what you have found out about the energy that's coming in?
yeah, I'm really so excited about this moon. It just brings a lot of, like you said, dreaminess. It has a lot of intuitiveness to it, a lot of spiritual healing. And it's just really kind of a nice supportive break to what we've been going through. This is also closing out a cycle that started last year. So we talk about cycles all the time with the moons, and I always talk about how on sometimes we go from like new moon to new moon, and it can be like new moon in Pisces to new moon in Pisces, and it's a full year cycle. So with this new moon in Pisces, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and so we're closing out the astrological year with this one. And then our next moon will happen in the sign of Aries after the spring equinox, which happens on March 21st. And that's like a brand new cycle that we're starting. So usually with new moons, we always talk about, what we want to bring in and what seeds we want to plant. This one's a little different because we still do that, but it also has a sense of closing something out. And that, has kind of a little bit of a different feel to it and a different way of looking at the energy of this moon.
Do you remember what the Aries was it new moon that you were talking about for the cycle?
Yeah, so
What it
the
was
Aries
about?
new moon last year was on March 24th. So it was
Mhm.
right after the spring equinox. And I don't know if you guys all remember, but I'm pretty sure March 24th was when I closed up my office at work and stopped seeing clients, and kind of the big shift. I know some things had started happening and coming into motion before that time. But March 24th was right around the time when I was like, well, I should probably close things down. They were told for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And then, of course, it ended up being extended much longer than that. And so we're now at that year mark, and that's closing this cycle. And not to say that now everything's suddenly going to go back together, but we've talked about this in the previous videos is, you know, we're closing something out and turning a page and starting to go in this next direction and growing what we need to grow.
Ooh, I like it. So, with this new moon, we're kind of ushering in a time too where all the planets are direct for quite a long period to the end of April. Um, is there any other things that we need to be aware of astrologically, like, that coincides with this new moon?
Yeah, so we're really fortunate. This moon has such supportive energy with it. Like you said, all of the planets are direct for 2 months, and that creates like this wide open energetic field for creation, creating new things and forward movement. And it's, expanding and actually finally getting out of the holding pattern that we've been in, I feel, for a long time. But with this new moon also, I mean, new moons happen when the sun and the moon are in the same position in the sky, and it's in Pisces. And then what's also in really close alignment in the same part of the sky with Neptune and Venus. And Neptune rules Pisces,
Mm-hmm.
or Pisces rules Neptune, I should say, or vice versa, whichever one that is.
Okay.
You choose how that sounds best to you. Um, but it does have that dreamy quality to it. And it has kind of this ethereal, otherworldly energy that's really kind of resonates on a completely different plane from this concrete energy that we're used to. It's very watery, it's very fluid, it has a lot of emotion to it. It's kind of mystical. A lot of where Neptune is in your charts will influence kind of your ideas about New Age philosophies or religion, or, it's definitely has that mystical quality to it. And so
That's
having
a
that
good point.
extra boost of Pisces, it's like it just amplifies all of those qualities with this moon. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have Venus that is also sitting there in Pisces, really close to all of these other planets. And Venus is, I mean, that's your love and your money and all the feel good things. And so this moon is coming in and it's going to just kind of do a lot of healing of things and kind of the heaviness that we've been sitting in for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, I like that.
yeah, it's a really, really beautiful time. And for it
Yes.
to kind of open up during this time when we have all this forward movement too.
Mm-hmm.
It,
And I love that it is wrapping up that cycle that started. And you can see after that spring equinox that that's when, you know, that's so
yeah,
wonderful. I'm so excited.
but the last year was so full of heaviness
It really
and a
was.
lot of changing for a lot of people, and a lot of uncomfortableness, and with that came a lot of growth, kind of viewing yourself and how you navigate the world in a different way. And so even though with new moons we generally tend to look at setting intentions and forward thinking and what we want to bring in and planting seeds, this moon is important for doing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it also offers us a chance to look back too and kind of honor the ways in which we have grown as
Mm-hmm.
humans this last year. Because
Yeah.
I can guarantee I don't know a single person who's the same as they were a year ago.
Yeah.
it,
Well, and I hope that people aren't, you talk to people in the outside of my general group of friends, and there are quite a few people that are very like negative about the world and in its current state. And I wouldn't want that to limit anyone and their dreaming right now. Is you have to let that go and you have to move forward, and you have to realize that there's cycles that end, and as you go forward you have to think positively and think about what you really want,
mm-hmm,
and don't limit yourself. And so I hope people, as we come into this new moon, that they're able to leave some things behind them, and that they're able to start thinking about what they really want to bring in, and not worry about all that past that's been behind them, because that was given to us as a time to learn. It was given, I mean, you know, this whole like COVID thing didn't, it provided you a time to, like reclaim your life in a little bit of ways, or re-see some things. And some people, struggled with it, and some people loved it. And so
yeah,
I would
it really
just,
was. It was kind of like a big reset button, and then it also kind of accelerated the process
yeah,
of this huge amount of growth that we've been seeing in people. um,
exactly.
so it had its purpose.
It did.
And even if it was ugly and didn't treat you very well, like, I hope that you can kind of step back and see that there was a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you didn't like the reason at the time. And I feel that way about most kind of
Totally
really
agree.
difficult periods of life. You really hate it in the moment, but later on you can really appreciate how it took you from point A to point B
Yeah.
and changed you in the process.
That's
So
definitely how I feel. I mean, I definitely did not love a lot of pieces of it, but I do recognize that there was some good that's come of it, and there's continued good that's coming of it. And it's what you can make of it that, um, really is compelled by what your needs are. I think you're kind of drawn to either the negative or the good things, but you have to pay attention to what really comes forward during these times.
yes,
And it shows
for
you.
sure.
So. Well, what is there anything else that you can think of going on?
So, I take some time when we start getting ready to do these moon energy videos, and I kind of look for ways to figure out what the energy is and what the message that kind of wants to be told or come across through these. I don't just necessarily go and make things up and be like, this is what I'm going to talk about. Um, so I was looking for what kind of was the energy with this, and I was feeling that it was a really spiritual, had a lot of spirituality to it. Um, but the thing with Pisces is that it's generally such a spiritual sign, and they do kind of have this ability to kind of like go in between the physical realm and the spiritual realm really fluidly. Sometimes Pisces has a tendency, that energy has a tendency to be kind of an escape artist, and to sometimes not want to face their own reality. And that can kind of lead to some of the detrimental aspects of the sign, especially if you are using your vices to check out of having to deal with things. And that is one thing to pay attention to with all of this Pisces energy is, are you, I mean, take a break, go daydream, go do something that, is a little escape of reality for yourself. But you might want to check in with yourself and make sure that you're doing it in a way that is good for you and good for your spirit, and not just creating more damage or chaos or hardship for you later on.
I agree. I mean, you brought up a great point with the Pisces energy. I feel like it definitely can have that negative aspect, if you are not aware of it, where you do that kind of like self-medication with certain substances, or so just be very aware of that. You don't want to like mask everything in your life by those. That's not healthy.
And they always, Pisces, the Pisces that I know, they always want to look on the bright side of things, which is a great quality to have. But don't convince yourself that something is what it isn't for the sake, just because you want it to be that way. Sometimes, because the longer you try and avoid and pretend that something isn't right, or is wrong, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say.
I know.
It eventually will come back and kind of like hit you. And it could be really even more devastating than if you had taken the time to acknowledge, okay, this is not working for me anymore, and I need to address it and change it. Otherwise, I'm going to be dealing with this again in another year, 5 years. If pretending isn't going to make it go away. They can be really good at pretending things.
They totally can.
And when we're in Pisces energy, that energy affects everybody, no matter what your sign is. And so it's good to look at those things and try and recognize in yourself what you might be doing in the energy that is happening. So when I was sitting down and trying to, or not even sitting down, they do a lot of thinking throughout the week prior to the moon circle, the moon videos. And I had a conversation with a friend, and if she's listening, she's totally going to laugh. But one of the things she said to me, we always talk about spiritual things and the things that interest us. And she said, I feel like you're kind of like me. And she's like, this is going to sound so bad. She's like, but you're kind of a lazy spiritualist. And I was like, oh, it's true. But I really looked at that, and then at that comment, and it made me think along the lines of, okay, a lazy spiritualist, like what would make me not a lazy spiritualist? And I found that a lot of times, especially when someone is newly starting out on this journey, they're not exactly sure what to do. And they sometimes think that they will be a better spiritual person if they follow certain rules, or dive into certain kind of realms of spirituality. Like if I have to meditate every day, or I have to collect crystals, or I have to look at tarot cards and get tarot card readings,
Mm-hmm.
or if they gravitate more towards, Christian philosophies, are like, I have to read my Bible every day. And Pisces in particular, it's kind of like this whole idea, as I was thinking about this moon, it's like Pisces are, I mean, we all are, we are spiritual beings.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to try to be spiritual. We innately come to this earth and we are a spiritual being. We come to this earth to have this earthly experience. And the whole purpose of being here is to really dive into our humanness and have that experience. And it doesn't mean forget your spiritual side. And it doesn't mean that you need to try and renounce your human side in order to become spiritual while on earth. But there's like this merging of these two parts of you that, you can integrate your spiritual aspects, which is who you innately are, and then your spiritual human self while you're here. And so to find a way where you can tap into your spiritual side while still existing in this place,
Yeah.
and is kind of, I think, a key element. You can do both, and spirituality it shouldn't be hard and it shouldn't be forced. And so when she said you're a lazy spiritualist, I almost think that's a compliment.
I
Because
am too.
yeah, I feel like my sense of spirituality is something I can tap into at any time and recognize it and work with it. And I don't necessarily need the tools to do that. And if you're just starting out on this journey and you're trying to figure out what your spirituality is, like, it's a good time to start getting curious about it and exploring what resonates with you.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a quote, because you know me.
Yes.
Quotes.
Give us a quote.
And it's one of my favorites. It's actually it's a Hindu proverb, and it's there are hundreds of paths up the mountain, all leading to the same place. So it doesn't matter which path you take. The only person wasting time is the one who runs around the mountain telling everyone that his or her path is wrong. So when you're looking to like kind of venture out on your own and discover what feels good in your soul and what spiritual truths speak to you, like, you don't need to follow someone else's rules as to what is the way to do it.
I totally agree. I get asked that all the time with the tarot. My tarot say, I'm just like, whatever you feel is right, just go with it. Intuitively, you're going to know what you need or what needs to be brought up. And so don't let others dictate how you do things. Do what feels right.
Having a sense of spirituality it's like your connection to source, and however you can create that connection and feel like it resonates with you and feels good in your soul as to being the way that you want to connect with that, like, please do so. I have told this in circle, when we meet in circle, that I grew up in a really religious family, and I was told from a young age that in order to have a connection to God, you had to read your scriptures, and you had to say your prayers, and you had to say your prayers in a certain way, and you had to go through this way of doing things, and it was very structured. And I tried, I went through the steps. I felt like that was going to help me become a better person and have this relationship to God. And at one point I just realized that wasn't working anymore. And of course, I have another quote for this. It's because it's because when I start thinking of things, I feel like I get little messages in the form of quotes or stories or conversations I have with people, and they all kind of link in. And that's how I recognize when spirit's trying to talk to me and let me know something. And so the quote that actually popped up when I was thinking about all this was um, by Alice Walker. And the quote is, I understood at a very early age that in nature, I felt everything I should feel in church, but never did. Walking in the woods, I felt in touch with the universe and with the spirit of the universe. And that was like heading out into the mountains or the forest. That was where I had the best sense of myself. And so if that is where you find yourself, go. If you're a beach person and sitting on the beach is where you find yourself, go do that.
Yeah.
Like, do something, some way this moon to just honor your personal connection to spirit.
I love it. And with that, that's pretty much your homework, right? So
Yeah,
if you want to participate in this moon, the activity for this new moon is to pick an activity that you want to do and just go try it. And you'll know what activity is intuitively. And Amy, of course, has been talking about honoring, spirit in yourself. And so making sure that, what you're doing, you're honoring how you can connect with the universe.
absolutely. Yeah, it's there's no right or wrong way.
No.
Get curious about it. When I stopped doing everything that everyone had always told me to do, I had to start from scratch and figure out, okay, does this work for me? Does this not work for me? Does this feel good? Does it not feel good? And then move in the way that feels good for you. And the right teachers you'll find the right teachers, you'll find the right information in the classes, and, but always check in and make sure that it's something that is meant for you and not just someone telling you how to do it. Like, don't listen to anybody else. Listen to yourself.
Exactly. You got this, people.
Because it is a new moon. We always set intentions at new moons, and this one is pretty potent and powerful to kind of get out and dream big about. And we're going to be starting spring equinoxes, a week after this moon, and that's the start of the next astrological year. It's a new slate. It's when seeds are planted. We're starting over, and it's an opportunity to just create a life that is completely different if you want it better.
I like it.
So write your intentions. Try to find a way to tap into your spirituality that maybe you haven't tried before, and get curious and adventurous and do some daydreaming.
Try something new.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Amy. I'm
You're
excited
welcome.
about the new moon. Remember that it's coming up on March 13th. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.